Working to build a significant food garden at home is a long-term project. At the beginning, we start full of enthusiasm and energy, but as the weeks go by, we get a bit tired and perhaps discouraged. That is the best time to visit friends who have already established the garden of their dreams. Come with me so we can visit the nice food garden that my friend Bob has built for his family. Hello and welcome to another episode of the High Grow Garden channel.
We've put espalier a number of trees down, a nashi pear, a sour cherry which we make jams out of, and 2 golden plums. And the other value of having this type of arrangement, and you can set it up with actually just stakes and wire, it doesn't have to be against a fence, is that I can then net it very simply to keep the birds off it from eating all the fruit, because the blackbirds and the starlings and the miners love stone fruit. When you do this, you kind of reduce the volume of the tree, and therefore you probably will not get as much fruit as you would get in a massive big tree. But we get sufficient for our needs and also to give away a fair bit. Oh, the other thing is that you actually keep pruning during summer. To stop it from growing up high, you keep pruning it all the time during summer, and after a while it's only probably twice during spring, summer months that you need to prune it, and then you do a final prune just before around about beginning of autumn. These are 2 dwarf trees. This is a nectarine, dwarf nectarine, and a dwarf peach. And again, for small backyards, I find these fantastic because I get a massive amount of fruit off them, and again, they're easy to net to keep the birds off. And they're easy to spray for leaf curl and things like that. And so I would prefer these days to go to the dwarf trees than to the big trees, because it's easier to maintain and easier to control everything on it. I get heaps of fruit off these, more than enough for our eating and jamming and giving away, and they're excellent for small backyards. And I've got, if I don't have that, I go to the ballerina or the totem pole type apple tree is the other one, which is, again, you can keep fairly small. This is a fig tree. Doesn't need a lot of maintenance other than just to trim it. This is quite an old fig tree now. It's been along this fence for 20 years, I guess now. We get massive amount of fruit off this. We jam, we dry, we make glacé figs, and we give probably half away to neighbours and friends. Again, simple to cover with net and keep the birds out, because the birds especially love figs. The ballerina type apples, they're good because they don't spread too wide. Again, I tend to keep the certain height from them so they don't get too high. We get masses of apples on, again, off these. And if you're looking for a family of 4 people, you'll get a couple of months of apples off them for yourself. Doesn't need a lot of upkeep. Doesn't need a lot of spraying. It's not like stone fruit. Just needs a little bit for codling moth once or twice during the fruiting season. I just use stakes and conduit to provide the framework so I can put a net over it to stop the parrots and that from eating. Yeah, during the hot summer months, I'll switch over the washing machine water, so the grey water comes down and keeps this area moist, and so I don't have to water these trees usually much during the summer. We have a number of citrus trees. The Lisbon lemon, Tangelos, which is just about finished. I've had months of eating Tangelos, mandarin, and then a Meyer lemon. We go through a lot of citrus, and I've got another mandarin over there, and some lime trees, and an Australian finger lime, which we use for cake decorating and for cooking, and very special. They're very expensive to buy, but they're easy to grow. We have sometimes possum problems, so nets are not super effective on possums because they'll just tear their way through it. But it's only occasionally. We get enough for quince jam, quince paste, and all the stuff that a wife who cooks a lot like mine will use. The other thing I do too, Patrick, is I let my broccolini go to seed, and I'll leave that, even though I'm starting to get aphids and I've got to spray it for the aphids and that on it. But I like to do that because when the fruit trees are in bloom, this attracts the bees. And so I won't dig this out now until after they stop blooming. One of the things in Melbourne we struggle with now is, of course, citrus wasp. There are a couple of ways. Normally you cut it out. In New Zealand they've been experimenting by slicing it, and that seems to be slowing it down. And so I'm trying different ways to protect it, but it affects all the citrus trees in Melbourne now, and is a big issue for us because it eventually affects the whole branch. This Tangelo, because it's had a lot of fruit, and I left it on and just took it as I needed, and because of all the rain, I've noticed there's a lot of yellowing happening with my leaves of citrus, and it's usually due to too much water. Sometimes it can be due to other things like mineral deficiency and stuff, but this was bright green until the rain started. It's only just recently started to go yellow. Part of the stuff I grow is that when our grandkids visit, they can come down and eat straight from the tree. And this is basically, these blueberries are not really super healthy and super strong. They're in the wrong place. They don't get the right environment. But there's enough for the grandkids to come down and sit here and eat as much as they like. My garden is set up so that I can produce that we'll use all the time, but if I know my grandkids are planning to come in, say, 3 months' time from Western Australia, I will start growing crops which they can come down here and sit and eat. Things like carrots, snow peas, strawberries, depending on the season, so that when they're out there playing, they'll just come and take stuff out of the garden and eat it while they're playing. And they love it. And they dig up potatoes. One of the big specialities is when I have potatoes, because they love to get it out of the ground, because they don't understand where it comes from half the time. I guess the reason I enjoy my garden so much is that I love fresh fruit and vegetable, and I love to be out, and I eat a lot of fruit and vegetable, especially vegetables as well, raw, and so I can just go to the garden and take it wherever we need it. With my wife's cooking, who cooks a lot of variety of dishes, we can go and get very fresh herbs and everything we need, or a lot of the things we need at the different times, into the house straight away, and it's nice and fresh and lovely. And I get satisfaction out of seeing things grow. I get satisfaction out of my grandchildren eating the stuff out of the garden. I get satisfaction out of giving it away to neighbours and stuff, because it's just not very many people these days have gardens and have the enjoyment of a taste that is different from what you get from the supermarket. And that's what it is. There's a taste difference. It's so different, and people comment on it, and that's probably the main reason, apart from my relaxation. When I had a high pressure position before I retired, it was my relaxation. It was my way of actually switching off from the world and just enjoying nature.